Yo guys, welcome back to the channel. We're back again with a brand new video. So today we're going to be taking a look at these new Drifter melee weapons and how you can unlock them. Also we're going to touch on the new Orowyrm boss fight. So as always, if you've gotten to enjoy this video, make sure to drop a like, subscribe to the channel. Any other videos or guides you want me to do, drop those down in the comments below. Hope you enjoy and let's get into it. Okay, so as you know, they released 5 different Drifter melee weapons into the game with the Duviri paradox. Now, the first one is the Sun and Moon, which you actually get when you interact or when you do and complete the Duviri quest. But then, in order to get the other 4 melee weapons, you need to unlock them using either a specific resource or platinum. Now, if you use platinum, then you'll get both of the weapons, both the Drifter and the Warframe one, pre-built and you can use them as you wish. However, if you choose to use the resource, which is the PATHOS clamp, then you will get the Drifter weapon built, but you will only get the blueprint for the Warframe one, and you need to build that in your foundry before you can use it. Now, this resource, it has other uses, but we're only going to focus on the one focused on the Drifter melees, because the others we're going to look at when we look at the intrinsics. Now, this is an exclusive resource to the new boss fight in which you fight the Orowyrms. So, what we're going to do in this video is we're going to look at the Orowyrm fight in both the normal version and the Steel Path version, because there are a couple of differences, and then at the end of the video I'll look at some tips and tricks that you can do to make it easier and quicker, especially if you're solo. And the reason I say is if you're solo is because we're only around just going to a week since this has been released, and people are still trying to farm intrinsics. So if you're someone who's maybe one boss fight away from getting all 60 for example and buying a melee weapon, you probably don't want to farm intrinsics. You just want to get the boss fight done out the way so you can purchase and build it. But people obviously still want to farm for intrinsics and level up their intrinsics, so this is going to make it so that you will be able to actually do it on your own if you have to. But obviously, disclaimer, it's going to be a lot quicker and a lot easier if you have a squad. So now let's get into the next segment. Okay, so just before we get into the actual fight, I want to talk about one thing, and that is the different Orowyrm that you get depending on the cycle that it is in Duviri. Because although the boss fight itself won't be any different, the damage that they deal will be. So for example, if you're against Bombastine in the Envious cycle, he is going to hit you with Toxin. And if you get hit by that, it completely bypasses your shield and eats away at your health, making you a lot more vulnerable than you should be. He's the only main one you should really be worried about. Obviously Loden and everyone else, they have elements that eat at your shield rather than just your health. So if you are on Sorrow and you're doing the boss fight, then just be aware of the Toxin if you don't have a frame that can handle it already. Okay, now we're going to get into the actual fights itself. Okay, so assuming you've done all the 6 stages, now we can summon the Orowyrm. So you grab the Orbeus and he will come out of the wormhole.
Is the dragon that devours itself. It spawns many children. Lethargy, self-pity, self-doubt.
And basically, once you get close enough, the Orowyrm will fire projectiles at you, which you basically want to destroy when you're relatively close to, because they're going to give you a huge speed boost and it's going to make catching up to it a lot quicker. Okay, so here we go. Shooting one at me. If I throw my Orbeus, it gives me a big speed boost. It lets me grapple onto it. Once you grapple onto it, you just want to go towards the head of it and you'll be able to transfer into it. Now we want to destroy these worm tethers within the time limit that you can see at the bottom. And of course you have your overheat charge as well, which is similar to the railjack turrets. I think this has like approximately 200 range, 150, 200 meter range. And then once you've destroyed the tethers, you can then go back into the portal that it came out of. And now this is where we actually do the fight. So it gives you the cutscene when it crashes into the palace. So it comes through the portal. We're guiding it through. And boom, there it is. So now this is the arena where we're actually going to do the fight here.
This ruin offers little
So
shelter.
essentially all you want to do is shoot these red rings that he has around him. And you can use whatever weapon you have. Now also note that some of the decrees that you get are going to be very useful as well. For example, increasing fire rate, increasing damage, crit chance, those sorts of ones, they're going to be very useful. But once you've destroyed the first set of rings, you're then going to have to fight a number of Dax enemies, which you can see in the top left there underneath my map. I need to kill 15. So then this is where someone you like Mesa is going to be really nice to have. Because it literally melts. One more enemy, and boom, down. He's down. So now he's got another set of 3 rings on him, which we need to destroy again. And now, if you don't have any good weapons, it is okay. After a short time, which I will show you on the last circuit, you will get the arch gun, which you can use to destroy it as well. And I'll show you that one. Now all you need to do in this final sort of challenge is you're going to destroy a couple of worms. Which again, using someone like this is going to be very easy to do. He says. Okay, so once they're dead, take these. Well, okay, so he has the 3 rings on him. So I'll just wait for a second and I'll show you that the archgun will spawn and then you can use that as well. But again, using certain decrees to increase fire rate, etc, etc, can boost your damage heavily and make this a whole lot easier. Especially on steel paths. Okay, so here we go, it's spawned in the middle. Try not to die from everything as well. And then all you want to do is just literally light it. And I do have the decree, which basically lets me roll and auto reload. But that's all you need to do, and then that's the fight done. That's the normal fight done. You'll get this cutscene, which you can skip, and then you'll be given your rewards here. Where you'll get the Pathos clamp that you need, you'll get intrinsics, and you'll also get another decree. Now, the rewards for the Steel Path version are going to be a little different. You'll get more of certain items, but the work you have to do is a bit more as well. So, now we're going to get into that. Okay, so now we're going to be doing the Steel Path version. So, again, you do the same thing, complete the first 6 stages, and then you'd be given the option to summon the Orowyrm. So you grab the Orbius as normal again. Then, worm will come out of its portal, and then this is where there's a few differences. So, the first part, you cannot just go to the head and transfer into it. As you'll be able to see, there are red glowing rings, just like in the previous boss fight, that you need to orientate the right way in order to actually get into the head. Think of it like a lock, basically. You need to unlock it before you can get in. So, the projectiles and things, they're the same thing, but as you'll see in a second, when I get there,
To tame a wild cave, it must be ridden. The Orowyrm is no different.
okay, so first ring, right here, it's grapple on. Now, as you can see, just under the map, there is the directional Orbius, and you need to orientate these rings the right way in order to basically unlock it and get access to transfer it. Back. All of them are done now. Now we can transfer it. Now the timer is slightly shorter on this one,
You have control.
but the sort of essence, the objective is the same thing. Going for the tethers and then bringing the worm back into the portal. break that one, and then we send him into the portal.
Force the beast back to its domain.
Okay, so the first section of the fight is going to be exactly the same as the last one. Yep, it's still Path enemy, so they're going to have a lot more armor and a lot more health. That's it. So, we get into it. Now again, having some sort of weapon and buffs that you can activate is going to be really useful. But of course, if you are doing this solo, you are going to need to have... it is going to take a bit more time than it would in a squad, because you're only having one of the weapons instead of many. Okay, again, you can grab this.
The weapon they have sent is inelegant, but devastating.
Okay, that's the first part. Now, we need to get on the cave that spawns in here, and we need to go to the outer ring. Because essentially, in the middle is just constant heat procs, and you will die. Unless you have some sort of frame that can handle it, but I think that's very unlikely. Now again, all you want to do is destroy the same thing, destroy the worm. They will come straight ahead of you, and you just want to keep destroying them. Now this is me doing it solo, by the way. If you do have a squad, the number of wormlings you have to kill will increase depending on the squad. I think it's 3 for every squad member you have. Okay, bear with me here. Okay, there we go. Now, the outer part is going to be full heat proc, so you need to go into the center. And again, we will have the rings that appear on him for the second stage.
I'll drag you down with me. Don't think I won't.
Okay, and also just be careful of those sorts of things around as well, because they will do a lot of damage. Okay, now again, all you need to do is destroy some wormlings. They'll be a lot higher level since it's still Path, but that's all you need to do.
Way out of here.
Look at the beautiful wormlings. How loyal they are.
Find a way to stop its spawn.
And then the final part is just destroying the ring. And that's all you need to do. Once you've got rid of all the rings, that is the fight done. And then you'll get the cutscene, which you can skip of course, and then you can claim your reward. Now because this is still Path, you will get extra rewards. You get 5 steel essence, you get 25 intrinsics instead of 15, and you also get an extra 5 pathos clamps.
I'm sleepy.
But again, make sure you're taking advantage of your decrees when you're doing the 6 stages and also any other side missions, because these are going to help you, especially when it comes to Steel Path and you need a lot more damage. Okay, so now we're going to talk about a couple of tips and tricks that you can do to help you get through the boss fight, and if you are, get it done solo. So, we're going to split it into two things. You need one of these two things at least. Those are survivability and damage output. If you have both, then that's great. You're sorted. So, in terms of survivability, if you're in the lower ranks, you do have, or you will know that you have access to frames that you don't even actually own. And those frames are given a default mod setting, basically, where they get health, shield, armor, and then a bit of everything in terms of the 4 attributes: efficiency, range, strength, and duration. Now, at those lower ranks in the normal Duviri, it should be enough to get you through the boss fight, right? Because you've got a lot of health, a lot of shield, a lot of armor, etc, etc. However, in the Steel Path, you may be able to do it, but it will be a lot harder. So, it's going to be better if you have certain other Warframes which give you complete immunity. For example, Revenant's Mesmer skin or Rhino's Iron skin. If you don't have those, you could use Gara's Splintered Storm as long as you have a high damage reduction to the point where you can actually survive in these fights. The next thing we come down to is damage output. Now, again, this can be done in a bunch of ways. Warframe abilities, for example, Rhino's Roar, Mirage's Eclipse, Zarta's Whisper, anything that buffs the amount of damage that your weapons are going to be doing. Now, you can use certain augment mods and other abilities like Volt. Its shield, you shoot through it, it increases the crit chance and also the amount of electricity damage that you do. On top of that, the augment mod Shock Trooper again increases the electricity damage by 100%. But one thing to note about these is that if you don't have a weapon which has electricity on it, it's going to be useless because it only affects electricity damage. So if you don't have it, then don't use it. And the final thing we can do is use our decrees very wisely. Okay, so if you are just running this boss to get 10 clamps to buy a weapon, you are most likely just going to go for pure damage and try and get rid of Orowyrm as quick as you can, right? So certain decrees that may help with this is making the target vulnerable by 10% every time you hit them. Again, it's going to make you do a lot more damage. Increasing fire rate periodically every time you hit them. Again, it's going to increase that damage per second and it's going to make it quicker to kill it, right? Another one, rolling, gives you crit damage for a couple seconds. Again, only a couple seconds, but it's still going to give you that crit damage and increase that damage output onto the worm. And then finally, you can also do rolling to get an instant reload. Again, I showed that in the gameplay, which just meant that I didn't have to wait a couple seconds. Again, I could get it done. You know, shaving off a couple seconds off the boss time is still a couple seconds, you know? So, make sure you're picking your decrees wisely. If you are, for example, doing a long intrinsics farm before you do the boss fight, then you're most likely going to be in a squad, and 4 people is most likely going to be all the damage output you need. So your decrees are more likely going to go into movement speed, getting around the map, and doing all the side quests as quick as you can. So those are my tips and tricks. And that is it for today's video. Thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, make sure to drop a like on the video, subscribe to the channel. Any other videos or guides you want me to do, drop those down in the comments below. Hope you all have a great day, and I'll catch you in my next video. Peace.
Catch me if I fall.